Hey, my name is Rachel and I was a Fulbright English Teaching Assistant in Kinmen, Taiwan for 2.5 years. And so I feel like I have some knowledge that I would like to share with you. But I filmed this video originally 1.5 years ago, right when I got back from Taiwan. And I didn't do anything with the footage. And now a new group of English teaching assistants will be headed to Taiwan in the next week or so. So there's no time like the present to share my suggestions that I didn't know. So I'm gonna pass it on over to Rachel from 1.5 years ago. I taught in an elementary school. It was very small, only about 100 students, and I taught from kindergarten all the way to 6th grade. And I just want to say that this is all my opinion. These are experiences and tips that I have picked up, but it could be very different from what your experience is or how you approach the job and the time in Taiwan, and that's very okay. This is not the only way to do it, obviously, but I just wanted to share some things that I think could be helpful to you. So my first couple tips will be about the teaching experience. So I remember when I went into school on the first day, I didn't really know what to expect. I went down to my desk and nobody really greeted me because they were all busy working on their own things, and so I just kind of poked around at this new desk, then became really good friends with the person who sat behind me. I call him my Taiwanese dad, and he answered all of my questions and showed me around the school. But for a couple minutes there, I was really confused. So my first tip for you is to think of the importance of your first day. Not only the first day you're walking into school, but also the first day of your teaching, because you will probably have a couple days to prepare. Hopefully you will have a couple of days to prepare before you start teaching. It might be overwhelming in the new environment, but just know everyone is happy that you are there and want to see you succeed. All right, so my second tip is to think of a routine for your classroom. And this kind of gets the students in the mindset of learning. So for me, my routine was first, all the students lined up on the side of class, and I greeted each one hello and shook their hand. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. And then they all sat down and we did 3 deep breaths together. And after we did the routine a few times, sometimes I would add in a yoga move. And then I would have a welcome board and we would all read it together. And I would change my welcome board every day depending on the date and the weather. Today is Wednesday, March 25. And I also made another poster, I guess you can call it the volume poster. It gives the students an indication of what their loudness level is depending on what activity we're using. And I thought it worked very well, but I didn't use it consistently, so I wish I used it consistently. And another tip is to draw a schedule or a checklist on the board of what you plan to be doing in that class period to give the students a roadmap and know that, oh, if they get through the more challenging activities or more boring textbook activities, there will be some games they can play later on in class. So it'll give them something to look forward to, give them a reason to focus and participate. All right, the third tip is to tell you about the importance of phonics. My first year, I did not touch phonics at all, but I realized that phonics is so important to give students fundamental English, because I think, at least in my school for the most part, students memorized English words that were in the textbook, but they didn't know why words sounded the way that they did. In teaching phonics gave them the tool to start to break down words and see how letters affect sound. My kids really started to feel empowered after we learned phonics.
Then has a pen. Polite. Wheat. Feet. Heat. Meat. Neat. Polite. Wheat.
We went really slowly, especially in my 3rd and 4th grade. Those students were struggling really hard with those fundamentals, but they really benefited from slowing it down and reviewing the phonics. I will also link down below a Google Drive folder of really useful phonics resources. There are also a billion phonics resources online. Okay, tip number 4 is that you are there as a teacher, but also you can be there as a learner. And when I came to Taiwan, my Chinese was just so-so. I had taken some classes in college, but I was open to having the students teach me And so the kids are really excited to teach you things, whether it be the Chinese language or the sports that they love to play. Specifically when they are helping you with the language, they start to understand what it is like to teach someone a new language. And they also think that you're trying. You're putting yourself in a very vulnerable position. And so it might also help them be more excited about learning English and being able to communicate in your native language better. And tip number 5 is to mentally prepare for having very little guidance in your school. You don't know what kind of environment your co-teachers or the administration in your school will give you. So it is better to run on the assumption that you will have to be more independent and autonomous, which is okay because you will be surrounded by your Fulbright peers who are going through the same thing. Y'all will probably be working on lessons at the same time or trying to think of different activities to match the textbook lessons. But on the flip side, maybe your co-teachers are really, really active and they help you plan things. They're really participatory in class. You can work together very well, and that's excellent. Maybe you can share some of the tips and tricks you learned with your other Fulbright ETAs. And tip number 6 is to bring your big ideas to see what's possible. Schools are really, really excited to have you there, and they're also ready to see what you can bring to the table because they don't know what you can do. And so if you have any big ideas or things that you are really passionate about teaching, or ideas for holiday events that you want to share with the students, oftentimes the schools are very supportive and can try to help you make that happen because they know that this is a really enriching educational experience for the kids, and they will be really appreciative for you bringing your big ideas. Throughout my time in Taiwan, I became more interested in sustainability and environmentalism. So my second year, I spent one of my class periods a week teaching the students about environment and sustainability, and I came up with a curriculum for them, and I was really excited about teaching that content, and I think the students could very easily see that I was excited about the content, and so they were a little more engaged to learn about it. Tip number 7 might be one of the most important tips I can share with you, and it is to know how to judge your success. Just focusing on English and judging myself based on their English levels didn't work for me. I wanted to judge my success based on how comfortable they felt with me. And if I could build up a relationship, if I could increase trust with these students, hopefully they will be more engaged in English and ultimately have better English grades. One example I have is that I would go to my students' ping pong tournaments, and a few of my kids, when I first arrived, were very unengaged in the English classroom. But I noticed after I started to go to their ping pong tournaments, they would start to pay a little bit more attention in class, or at the very least listen to me a little better. It is important to find out how you want to judge yourself. If you are able to know, yes, I am making a difference. I'm making a student feel comfortable today, or I'm giving them a smile, or I'm asking them what's wrong, or I'm just checking in to make sure they're all good. And that goes a really long way. You could be a ray of sunshine for them. And I think that, in my opinion, that is more important than any English test grade. Switching out of the school environment for tips. Tip number 8 is to bring your hobbies to Taiwan. Bring your hobbies into your classroom even, and find new hobbies. So for me personally, I play the ukulele, but I didn't bring it to Taiwan with me when I first came. But I ultimately was able to play concerts with my best friend and work with the ukulele teacher on the island to teach ukulele to my students. We had an after-school ukulele class. So whatever your hobby may be, whether it be something you do indoors or like different crafts, for example, or if it's outdoor activities, whether that be running or hiking or climbing, you can try to continue to do that in Taiwan. Taiwan has so many things to do and art scenes and beautiful nature that you can continue your hobbies and try to share them with your kids if you can. Bring pieces of you into the classroom, and so that makes you excited to teach that content, and the kids will be excited to see you excited about it. Tip number 9 is to respect the culture. Respect the ground that you're walking on, and respect the people, and open yourself up to these new experiences. Also, if you hear about some taboos, for example, in Taiwan, you shouldn't go onto the beach during Ghost Month, which is in August. try to respect those as well. You don't have to believe them, of course, but you can respect how other people think that those are important and should be followed. Tip number 10 is to love openly. Taiwan is a place that will welcome you with open arms. I think you can get a lot out of the experience if you love the place back, and you love the people back, and you love your students. This might not be your vibe, but for me, I like to see myself as my students' American older sister. So that's kind of how I viewed myself, and that's just how I loved them too. And I showed that in different ways, whether that be listening to them or asking them questions or playing games with them on the playground. 100. 100. 100. Yeah. Tip number 11 is travel. I love traveling in Taiwan, but I will say, prioritize knowing the community around you. It will just add to your experience, of course. Congratulations for being an English teaching assistant. I hope you love your experience. I hope you gain a lot, but you give a lot. See you later. Bye.